Hello there, welcome to Black Jackal Gaming. Today we're going to take a look at Commander Dante, who is the Chapter Master of the Blood Angels. He comes with two different abilities, which are nice. His weapon loadout is pretty decent, hitting well in melee and range attacks, and he's got plenty of keywords on his weapons to help you out. Here's the jump pack, so he's pretty fast and he can deep strike as well. And he can join multiple jump pack units, which is really useful. As well as this, he's great in 3 of the 4 detachments. Let's take a look at his datasheet. He comes in at 130 points. He is movement 12, toughness 4, 2-up save, 4-up and vulnerable save, 6 wounds, leadership 6, which is a bit disappointing. It should probably be 5, and objective control 1. He has the core words for deep strike, so we can come in the reinforcement step of your movement phase, anywhere on the board 9 inches outside of the opponent. And he has the leader keyword, so we can join certain units. These units are Sanguinary Guard, Assault Intercessors with jump packs, and Vanguard Veterans with jump pack. For his range profile, it comes out ballistic skill 2. Here's the Perdition pistol, it's melted 2, sustain hits D3 and pistol. 6-inch range is 1 attack, strength 9, -4 AP and D6 damage. If you're at half range, which is 3 inches, you get those additional 2 damage from the melted 2. For his melee attacks, he's weapon skill 2. He has the Axe Mortalis, and this comes with lethal hits. It's 8 attacks, strength 8, -3 AP, 2 damage. His abilities, the first one of the 2 is called Warden of the Imperium of Nihilus. While this model is leading a unit, you can add 1 to the advanced charge rolls for that unit, and each time that unit makes an attack, you can add 1 to the hit roll. So that's +1 to the hit roll for both ranged and melee. The second one is Death Mask of Sanguinius. At the start of the fight phase, each enemy unit within 6 inches of this model must take a battle shock test, and you will subtract 1 from the test when they do so. Which battle shock tests aren't the greatest, but this is going to push some armies into the position where they can't use stratagems. So what units can he join? First up, he has the Sanguinary Guard. This is 130 points for a 3-man unit, or 260 for a 6-man unit. Their ability grants a -1 to hit, and if you have a character leading the unit, is also -1 to wound, and this is only for melee attacks. They come with a 2-up, 4-up save as standard, as well as 3 wounds. They're quite a nice toughness profile for them. They've got a good damage output in melee attacks. They've got 2 different options. So you've got the option of the Blade, which is 4 attack, strength 6, -3 AP, 2 damage. Or you can take the Spear, drop an attack and an AP, but you get Lance, which is +1 to wound. With the toughness profile being that 2-up, 4-up save with the 3 wounds, as well as getting the - to hit and wound in melee, they're quite a safe way to transport Dante into combat on the tabletop. Next up, we have the Assault Intercessors with jump packs. They come in a 5-man unit for 90 points or a 10-man unit for 160. They've got a really good mortal wound ability on the charge, where you roll a d6 for each model engagement range, and on a 4+, it does a mortal wound. Their melee output is okay in comparison to the Sanguinary Guard, because they do just come with chainswords, but you do have the option of upgrading the Sergeant to, you're likely to take a Power Fist on him. It is important to note that if you go for the 10-man unit, you do not get an additional Power Fist, so you will just have 9 chain swords and a Power Fist. This unit is mostly used for coming in late on to score points, either secondaries or taking objectives, or they're there to do actions as well, because they're a fast unit and get in and around the board. So it's probably not an option for Dante, because you want Dante to really be getting into the thick of it and doing as much damage as he can. And finally, we have Vanguard Veterans with jump packs. 5 men for 110 points, or you get a 10-man unit for 220 points. Their ability grants lethal hits to melee weapons on the charge, which is quite nice to have. The melee output is a little bit worse than Sanguinary Guards, because their weapon is essentially just a poor version of a power weapon, being just a strength 5, 1 AP, 1 damage. So they would do a lot less damage in melee than the Sanguinary Guards. And they would pretty much do on par with what the Assault Intercessors will do. You do have the option to replace their bolt pistols with either a Plasma Pistol, Infernal Pistol, or Grab Pistol, which are all really good options. And there's also the option to replace it for the Storm Shield, so they'll have their Vanguard melee weapon as well as a Storm Shield. This makes them all the more durable if you are wanting to use them to get Dante just into combat and protect him. So Sanguinary Guard are really the obvious units here, and you should probably avoid using the other 2 units to be led by Dante, because your Assault Intercessors are really going to be your action monkeys. They're going to be their scoring point. And the Vanguard Veterans, they don't really hit hard enough to really justify putting Dante in with them. Taking a look at the detachments that you can use in them to get the best out of them. First one being the Liberator Assault Group, which is essentially the default Blood Angels detachment. The rule for the detachment grants you +1 attacks and +2 strength on the charge. This is really nice as it moves Dante onto 9 attacks at strength 10 on the charge, which is a really nice profile to have. Looking at the stratagems for the detachment, first you have Angelic Grace. This gives you a 5 up Feel No Pain against mortal wounds. Then you have Savage Echoes. This gives you +1 to either attack or the strength characteristic when you're charging. You do have the option to be battle shocked and then have both +1 attacks and +1 strength, which is really nice. This is repeated throughout a lot of the other stratagems. Then we have Red Rampage. This gives you either lance or lethal hits in melee. Once again, you can swap this and be battle shocked and have both of them. Then there's Aggressive Onslaught. This allows you to shoot or charge after advancing, so a very nice option. And once again, you can choose to do both of them if you want to be battle shocked. Then you've got Relentless Assault. This is your option to fall back, and then you've got the choice of shooting or charging. And once again, if you want to be battle shocked, you can do both. Next up, we have the Angelic Host. At the end of your opponent's turn, you can select 2 units if you're playing a Strike Force game, and these are 2 jump pack units, and you can place them in strategic reserve. Then in your next movement phase in the reinforcement step, you can bring them down from Deep Strike, which is very nice. The stratagems that are quite useful are Unbridled Ardor. You can select an enemy unit that has destroyed a unit, and then all your Sanguinary Guard units get to re-roll hits and wounds against this unit for the rest of the game. So this is quite good against some high toughness, high wound units that are going to take more than potentially 1 or 2 turns to take down. Then you have Angelic Sacrifice. You can use this if you have multiple of your units in engagement range with the same enemy unit, and then you can choose for this unit to be the one that is attacked. So this is quite handy when you've got Dante in the Sanguinary Guard, because you do have that inbuilt -1 to hit and -1 to wound. Plus you do have that 2 up 4 up save, which is very nice. Then you got Martial Exemplars. This gives lethal hits and precision to melee weapons for jump pack units. Descent of Angels. This allows you to deep strike up to 6 inches away. But if you do this rather than your normal 9 inches, you cannot declare a charge move in this turn. And finally, we have Death from the Skies. If you advance or fall back, you're still able to shoot and declare a charge, so a very nice stratagem. And finally, we have Angelic Inheritors, which is the Grot.This detachment. At the start of the game, you can select any 2 of the below to be active for character units. First up, we have fall back and still be able to shoot and charge. Then we have reroll hit and wound rolls of 1. And finally, reroll advance and charge rolls. So really, you're going to be taking the rerolls to hit and wounds of 1 and reroll your advance and charge rolls because they're the most beneficial. Looking at the stratagems, we have Focus Fury. Melee weapons have lethal hits. And if there's a character in the unit, which you will if you've got Dante, you get Lance as well, so you get that +1 to wound. In the Shadow of Great Wings, when selected for range attacks, for the rest of the phase, this unit can only be targeted if the enemy unit is within 18 inches. So a very good lone operative, but with a little extension to it. Then we have Strik Al Glory. Range weapons gain sustained hit 1, which isn't as powerful as you'd consider, but when you do have Infernal Pistols and Dante's pistols, the sustained hits might come off quite nice. But Dante does already have the D3 sustained hits, but not the most useful for the Sanguinary Guard, but in a pinch can be used. Unto Burning Skies, place 1 jump pack unit in strategic reserve at the end of your opponent's fight phase. This cannot be a unit that's in engagement range unless it is the Sanguinor, and if he is in engagement range, he can be taken out of action and put into strategic reserves, which is quite nice. So in conclusion, Dante's a really good commanding unit. He's got a good data sheet, and he links up really well with the Sanguinary Guard. They already have that inbuilt -1 to hit, and then they get that upgrade to -1 to wound as well when they're led by a character. So it makes them all the more tougher. And then with Dante in there, you get the +1 to hits as well as rerolls to advances and charges, which is really nice. You do have the Battle Shock ability, but that's probably not even worth talking about, really. He does have a great melee profile with those 8 attacks. And it gets even better in Liberator Assault Group when you get that +1 attack and +2 strength. You are then on 9 attacks and strength 10, which is a really good profile for him to have. Because of his damage profile and the strength 6 -3 AP 2 damage weapons of the blades in Sanguinary Guard, when you're getting that +2 strength on the charge, this makes you really good into your light and medium armor opponents. When you're on strength 8 with those blades, it means you're going to be wounding Space Marines on 2s. This is really good into your heavier options as well, because you do have that +1 to hit from Dante, so you do have the ability to go into your heavier units, especially with that strength 10 from Dante. So the stratagems across the 3 detachments are all great. There's some really good ones you can pull out of there, and he excels in all 3. The only one he doesn't excel in is the Death Company one, which we haven't spoken about, and that's just because all of the stratagems are really locked to Death Company units, so you don't get the best out of him. He's really good into these other detachments, and they feel like they've been slightly built around him as well. Now, the current meta is moving away from your large 6-man units with Dante into more of your 3-man units. So you are going to minimize the impact Dante has if he is in these units. But if you want to get the most out of the Sanguinary Guard, you do have to have the character in there to get that -1 to wound and melee. And Dante is a great option to have in there. So a lot of armies are now going for your 2 or 3 3-man units and having Dante or a different character in there. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel to see all future content. Take it easy, I'll see you next time.